Hey everyone, welcome to the new episode of the Dreamers Podcast. Today we have Godspeed Records. We have three of their artists coming out to talk, so if you guys want to go ahead and introduce yourself and kind of explain who you are.
Yeah, I'll go first. I'll just start it off. Yeah, I'm Ethan. I perform and release music under the name Say Ferris. Yeah.
I'm Zell, and I go under Feedback on the Way, and I'm from Louisiana.
I'm Bexley. I go by Desert Rose. I produce and I rap and I design a lot of the graphic content you see for Godspeed.
Cool. Nice to meet you guys. Appreciate you guys coming on the podcast. I just wanted to ask, how did you all meet? Because I know you guys are all kind of from different areas. How did you all meet? How did Godspeed Records come? Like, talk about that formation and how you guys all met.
Yeah, man. I mean, it's kind of crazy. I met Bexley. I met Rose through a mutual friend of ours because I started to produce beats. I didn't like fully rap yet or like get into like fully making songs, but I was really into producing. And my friend was like, "Hey, I know this kid who raps. Like, you should like work with him." And then I met Bexley through that, Rose, and yeah, that was kind of cool. And then I met Zell, Feedbackotw, through this guy Nate. I actually met off of some like app selling like old clothes online, and I met Zell through him. Shout out Nate, he's cool.
Huh, that's cool that like a random buying clothes, like some guy on a clothes selling app or whatever, just now you linked and now you're in a record label together and like kind of, musicians.
It's funny because, like, I don't know, like, Ferris DM'd me and was like, yo, do you want to do a song? And I was just like, who is this kid? Like, first of all, I don't even know this guy, but he's like, I don't know, he's just bold. It was something about, like, his approach that I liked. I was like, okay.
Mm-hmm.
So we did a song. I don't know, we just linked. It was cool. It was like everything was just smooth sailing after that.
Cool. So what made you guys, like, after you guys kind of became friends, started to know each other, making music together, what made you like decide like, hey, we should come together, form a label, and why form a label and not try to get signed? Because, everyone nowadays tries to get signed, tries to get a label deal. What made you guys want to create your own thing and kind of do your own wave?
Well, I think that, with like the way home recording is today, like the way we're even doing this podcast right now, like we're on our phones, recording audio through, just the internet or whatever. I think that the power of home recording and just production in general has become a lot more accessible to people at home. So that's kind of what the thought was behind forming, our own kind of label and our own kind of, not having to, feed a demand or anything like that, or like have to sign into like a contract where you just go in debt and, to like these major labels. And like, don't get me wrong, there are some like good major labels out there that like, if you know the right people, you can get the right thing that's right for you. But I think just forming Godspeed, you know, as a label, it helps us just all keep information in line to help each other. So like say like I know somebody like that would work really well with Zell, or Zell knows a producer that could get beats for Rose. Like,
Mm-hmm.
you know, it's kind of like that.
So yeah, that's kind of a good idea because yeah, like you said, like nowadays it's super easy. Like if I wanted to do this like 10, 15 years ago, I would have had to have a huge studio, cameras, all kinds of stuff. It would have been like impossible for you guys to do it remotely. And especially like music, like 15 years ago, you would have had to pay hundreds of dollars an hour just for some studio time. And you can't mess around. And so it's really cool that you guys kind of came together and like, hey, let's pool our resources. Hey, I know a guy that makes these beats. You should, link with him. And so it's cool that you guys kind of are still your own separate artists, but still found a way to like come together and pool your resources. So with that being said, I kind of wanted to know, like, what do each of you bring to Godspeed Records? Like, I listen to all your guys' music, so I kind of know, but let the audience at home kind of know, kind of what makes you unique and what do you bring to the Godspeed Records.
Um, I've tried to produce. I'm not the best at producing, but I think my lyrical abilities and my wordplay is higher than your average rapper, and I'm fairly good with the graphic design stuff. I've done a lot of covers for Ethan and Zell, so yeah, I would focus mostly on the art aspect of the label, but I also make music myself too.
Yeah, I mean, I feel the same kind of way with like a little bit. I kind of do a little bit of everything, really. Like, I mix a lot of records too. I mix a lot of our songs that we release on Godspeed. Um, I produce a lot as well. I also write a lot. I'm kind of like a psychopath. I just kind of like, that sounds awful, but I mean, it's kind of like, I feel like I bring like a little bit of everything to the table, whether it's like someone I know or like a record I can mix or like something I produced or like writing. Like it's it's a little bit of everything.
So yeah, I make music myself. I'm a singer, rapper, writer, but I I usually do like a lot of behind the scenes work as far as just making sure everything's in order, making sure that we're meeting our deadlines. Just making sure everything is cohesive and like me and Ferris, we kind of like manage. So
Nice. So yeah, it's cool that you guys kind of, I mean, like I said earlier, pooled your resources, but I mean, you all kind of have your own unique things. You guys have your strengths, and you kind of, use those to better together. Like you said, like Rose, you said you like do all the covers and stuff. You guys have some really cool graphics, and so it's cool that you can use that, but then like use your mixing and mastering and like all that stuff. But then kind of to add to that, what is each of yours like unique like writing process, that beat selection process? Like you're going to write a song, what is that like?
I usually actually do stuff in reverse. Since I'm an artist, I usually do the cover art and the title first, and then I find a beat. I either produce it myself or I have Ferris make me a beat, and I write on top of that based around the art and the title of the song.
I think for my kind of writing process, it's either like I usually always start with a beat or like I start with some kind of like lyrical one line or maybe it's even just the song title I just think is like really beautiful. But I usually do that and either of those things happen and you just kind of sit down and kind of just throw stuff at the wall, see if it sticks really. It's just that kind of thing. Or something like really sad happens, then you just write about that. And that's always fun. Yeah, it's always fun. Traumatic events. This would be a good song.
It makes the best art.
It really is, yeah.
with me, it's like I have to be inspired in order to like do a song because if I'm not feeling it, it's just not gonna go well. So I have to like see something and be like, okay, yeah, this is nice. And then boom, there's like this amazing song in my head. I'm just like, okay, I have to like I would hear it in my head first, and then I would either use my phone to like I guess jot it down, and then as soon as I get home, I have to lay it down because if not, it's just gonna be gone. But like I don't know, it's really it's a spark.
So then I kind of briefly mentioned it earlier, but I mean, you guys all have like different backgrounds of where you're from, like from Utah originally, and like St. Louis, Louisiana. How has your past and like growing up in those areas? Because I'm from Kansas, so kind of a little different than some other music heavy places. So I kind of grew up in a little different scene. So I'm curious as to how where you're from really affected your guys' music and your art in general.
I don't really know. I would say, I mean, being from St. Louis, and being really into the hip hop kind of scene, I would say that being from here, like, you growing up, and I'm 19. Growing up, I heard a lot of like the Nelly kind of stuff, like the club hits with like, like the Lemma, and like, like Air Force Ones with like the Lunatics, the same Lunatics, all those kinds of guys. I think really makes me from where I'm from, and I'm really proud to be where I'm from. I'm really happy to be from St. Louis, and I love my city, and I love everything about it. Like I'm really happy with our culture with here, with where we are, and that kind of thing.
So I grew up in this really small desert town called Hurricane, Utah. It's about 2 hours outside of Vegas, and I think primarily just living in the desert, it influenced my whole sort of image as an artist. So I've got a lot of, the desert aesthetic, the sort of, Wild West. And I think that plays into my music too, because I do all types of different styles. So it's like, it's wild, anything goes.
So with me, so I grew up in Baton Rouge, and I don't know, like with that city, it's more of like a competition, and you can easily get like caught up in it. But with me, I just try to stay true to myself, and that's where like things started to blow. And like, well, like I guess growing up in that kind of like with that city is lots of crime, lots of hate, and I try my best not to like get influenced by that and try to just stay peaceful, stay calm. But yeah, it can be hard though.
Nice. I always just like to hear how people, especially coming from all over. 'Cause like I said, I'm from Kansas, so it's really different compared to like a city. Like you said, you came from a small town in Utah, so I'm sure that really affects your art. I mean, obviously with the desert in your name. And then yeah, Nelly performed at the Kansas State Fair this past year. So I unfortunately was not able to make it, but Nelly's also pretty big around here as well. Um,
Yeah, dude, Kansas City, all that kind of thing. It's great.
Yeah, Kansas City. I mean, I don't know a ton about Kansas rap, and this doesn't have a huge history. But I mean, there's some people like Tech Nine and a bunch of other people that are still, even for being Kansas, there is still some representation here. And Kansas City is a really cool place. Um, So, kind of with that being said, you guys talked about your process, what you all bring to the label. What do you guys like? What is? I mean, I know everyone wants fame or money or whatever, but like what do you guys really want to accomplish with your music or with your art? Like, what is your real like non-monetary goal with that?
Non-monetary goal, I'd probably just say to get my art out there, for people to hear what I'm doing, and for people to enjoy what I'm doing, regardless of if I'm, become a millionaire off of it or if it's a flop. If I'm able to just have like five diehard fans who just listen to my stuff and they just love everything I do, I think at the end of the day, I'm satisfied with that.
I had a conversation like 3 days ago, or actually a few nights ago, with Desert Rose, and like I was talking with him, and I was like, man, like, because we're independent, like we're doing like all this, like literally, like we do, like there's so much work that goes in behind this, like it's really hard to like see. But I was talking with Rose the other night, and I was like, man, like like this next song, like I don't know, like PR, like what? There's so much shit you got to work. Can I cuss on here?
Yeah. You're good. Yeah, you're good.
Okay, all right, yeah. There's so much shit on here that like I was tripping about it, and like yada yada yada, and like he's like, yo, like don't trip, because like you got to remember like why you're doing this, and like I thought about this really deeply a few days ago, and I think and I know the reason why I do this is because it's kind of the only thing that's ever really made sense, to be honest. I know it sounds like really depressing, but like I don't know, like it just makes sense, like to reach out to somebody in a way, and like to not have to sit there to like have a conversation with them. I think it's just so powerful and like moving in that kind of way. So that's why I do what I do. It's just to reach out to people and, you know, have a conversation.
Yeah, with me is like I just want to spread a message and just like get my point across, and really that's kind of how my name came to be. I just want to respond to like all of the things that are like going on in the world, and just really just get my uh, get my point across. But yeah, it's really it, honestly.
Yes, I mean definitely with like the podcast, like I get what you guys are talking about. Like there is so much more behind like actually putting stuff out that you don't think of. Like I mean obviously like I'm the only person that does the podcast. I have to record, reach out to people, edit everything. Like I'm editing my first clip. It was like a 20-30 second clip, but it took me like hours because I had to figure out like, okay, this is how I wanted it. This is how I wanted it. And then I eventually like changed it because I realized it really wasn't a very good format. So I tried updating it again, and you got to do all that yourself, which is I mean awesome because I can have the freedom. I can be like, hey, I want to change this, and I can change it. But it definitely is a lot of work. And I get what you're saying with like like if you just have 5 diehard fans or someone like I mean I'm still pretty small, so like I see when I get like those few comments on the videos, like I see when I get new followers or people that like, and it makes me so happy, even though I maybe get a few likes or like 5 comments maybe, but it's still like I still want to keep making stuff for those people. And so like I'm really excited to see how that'll grow, because I mean I'm happy enough with it, just the size as it is right now. Um, so yeah, that's that's really cool, with all your guys' goals, and I wish you the best with that. But like you said, as long as you have fun, that's all that matters. But now I kind of want to get into some more like specific questions, for like each of you. So let me take a drink here real quick. All right, so feedback. We're gonna start with you. All right. So I watched your "Keep Your Distance" player, the music video, and I wanted to ask kind of what the process of that is, like filming the music video, how that came about, and if you have any other future music videos planned.
Gotcha. With that specific song, I don't know. I was just in a weird kind of headspace, and I was like, just by myself a lot, just not really like around people, and I guess that was right after like the quarantine and stuff, and like especially now, it's just so important to just kind of like watch out because like COVID and stuff is going on, and I was just like, okay, back, like give me my space, like, and I heard it, I was like, okay, boom, and so we did the song, and I was talking to like some people that I was like with at the time, and I was like, okay, we should shoot a video. This is like the hit of like the project that I was doing. I was like, okay, this is like the hit, and so I linked up with this guy in Baton Rouge, and we shot the video. It was beautiful, and yeah, it really got what I was trying to get like across, as far as like give me some space, because I'm the kind of person with to where like it's like I don't really like people, I guess, on my back a lot. I just like there's times I want to just be alone, and yeah, I am working on some more stuff. I'm gonna be shooting a video for a project that I've been making for a while now. It's called Phases, and yeah, we're like really all in. So yeah.
Nice. That's cool to see how that, I mean, kind of COVID inspired that, but also, just wanting to be alone. Because, I mean, I'm definitely like that. I like my private time. I like to stay in my room and just do whatever. And then I'll go out when I feel like it. So it's kind of cool that it also tied in with COVID, and stuff there. I also wanted to ask on your song "Wise Guys Anthem," off your album. At the beginning, it's like super like energetic and kind of like in your face, and then halfway through the song, it kind of cuts to more like melodic and more like pretty, I guess, more beautiful. So it kind of demonstrated like your big range. How do you see your sound developing in the future? And like, are you still going to have a big range, or do you think you're going to more focus on one sound? How do you feel like that will come on the new project?
I feel like my sound is constantly changing, and like for a while I was just trying to find my sound, and so I was like doing a lot of experimental stuff. But as of lately, I've kind of found the pocket that I'm in, and like what songs work and what songs don't. So yeah.
Nice. I'm interested in seeing how that sound evolves for the next project. And I also wanted to ask, I know you've done some like past live performances. I wanted to ask you like how that process was, and like how you felt, like what was your favorite moment from one of those?
Right. When I first started to do like shows, I was really, really nervous. But it's like the nerves are like in the beginning. Like the minute that you get on stage and start doing it, that's whenever you just feel the most like with that doing shows, you have to almost like be like a god. Like you have to like become this big person and like control the people that you're doing a show for. And yeah, it's fun.
Uh-huh. Say there's not very many rappers that come to Kansas. I mean, maybe they'll come to Kansas City, so I've never really been to a rap concert. But I went to a big kind of indie music concert a few weeks ago in Denver, and even though it wasn't rap, like you could just tell like she had complete control of the crowd. Like everyone was just in awe. So I think it's really important that you have like that crowd control. And there's a lot more into it than some people realize, with making a good show and just getting up there and standing still and singing. So I think that's really important. But the next I wanted to kind of go shift towards Ferris, for a minute. I wanted to ask, your two songs, Blondie and I'm blanking right now. What's the other one called?
It's the other one's called Therapy with Lil B.
Yeah. Blondie and
Yeah.
Therapy. I wanted to ask, since I know you produced, did you produce both of those?
Yeah, I produced both of those, yeah.
Okay, sweet. I just wanted to kind of ask you what your production process is like, because I really like the beat on both of those. Like especially Blondie, I listened to that and I was like, oh, whoa. That was really cool. So I kind of wanted to ask, like what that whole process is like, I mean, you already kind of talked about it a little bit. But like like how do you create your sound?
Well, I make a lot of kind of different beats when it comes to focusing on production. I mean, usually if I'm, feeling inspired, I'd always start with the beat first and kind of work towards, getting lyrics done and so forth. So, like usually like with Blondie, I remember I was in like Florida when I made that beat, I think. I don't know, so long ago, but I remember like I was just tired and like I loaded up these keys and I was like, man, these keys sound good. So I played them. I don't know. So like one thing that I heard with like playing the piano, like I'm not classically trained or anything, but I play a fair deal of instruments. Um, you kind of speak with your hands, and I feel like that's a really good way to kind of communicate with somebody. Like you can feel, like you really feel like, oh, like this is a soft song, like the way Blondie starts off. Like this is soft and, it's a lot more melodic. So in that kind of sense, it kind of starts off with the keys and I move the drums and, I make everything on Logic and my computer and that kind of thing, yeah.
Nice. And then you already did kind of
Yeah.
mention it, but I gotta ask, how did the Lil B feature? How did that come? What was that whole process like?
Oh,
Because Lil B's a legend,
yeah. Oh, the bass god?
of
Yeah,
course.
definitely. Yeah, me and the bass god, we go way back. Uh, yeah, we went to kindergarten. Nah,
Mhm.
but nah. So it's kind of weird how that whole like little B thing happened. Like, cause I'm the biggest fan of like all like the rap music I listen to is like from like 2012.
Mhm.
So like that's just like who I am. So Like Lil B is like obviously really prominent. Like a lot of like the rappers I listen to, Joey Badass, Mac Miller, Earl Sweatshirt, Steez, like all those guys, like the newer kind of boom bap kind of wave of
Mm-hmm.
rappers that was going on, especially in that time, like 2012, so whatever era. Like they all mention like the bass god or like the bass god. So like, 2012, I was like, I don't know, like 10. So like
Mm-hmm.
I would dig through like these articles online. I'm like, the bass god. But yeah, so that's kind of how I found out who Lil B was when I was like 12. And I want to say like January 2021, I had like this Google Drive on like my Twitter, and it had like just a fuck ton of beats in it, like just like random ass beats.
Mm-hmm.
Just because I was working with a lot of rappers at that time who needed like production services and whatever, and also I was also mixing a lot of records at that time. I get like a DM one day from like Lil B, like, "Hey man, like I really liked that one beat you had on your drive," and I was like, "Oh, like he's like his like Twitter got hacked or something."
Mm-hmm.
But like he dropped a number, so like he like sent me his number.
Uh-huh.
So like I was like, whatever, like I'll send him the beats. Like I'll send him a beat and like just see it back. This man sends me back a verse like that same like within like 8 hours. Like he sends me back like a full written verse. And I was like, oh. And like I sat on it. I sat on like that whole song for like I don't know, like for a long time.
Mm-hmm.
Like I didn't have any songs out yet or anything. Like I sat on that thing for a minute because like you can't top the bass god. You can't. You
Never.
can't do it. You may think
Never.
you can, but you can't.
Mm-hmm.
You will not. Never. Lil B the bass god. Thank you, bass god. But yeah, that's kind of how the Lil B feature happened. Yeah, it was pretty cool. I mixed both those records too and mastered them. Yep.
Mm-hmm. Nice. That's so cool. I mean, it's a very Lil B thing to do. To just click on a random link, be like, hey,
It is a very Lil B thing to
it's
do.
like, hey, bro, I liked it.
That is
Let's
very
let's
true.
link up. Because yeah, after listening to that, then I was like, man, now I want to go listen to some Lil B. And I was listening to Lil B, and now I've just for the past few days just
Ooh,
been listening to different
sorry.
Lil B songs. Because I remember finding out about him, I mean, a long time ago, but really like understanding who he was, like when I was first getting into rap, several years ago,
Yeah,
and it it's a little hard to get into when you don't understand it. And especially, I don't know, it was like
yeah,
2016 or so when I like really got into rap. So I didn't understand it at the time. And I was like, oh, is this just like all a joke? But now, especially like listening to it the past couple days, like he was honestly like,
yeah,
he's really good. Like, I think he doesn't get near enough credit for especially like developing the sound, kind of like you said, in the early like 2010s, late 2000s. So yeah, I
yeah.
mean Lil B does deserve his place as kind of a legend, especially in the past 10 or so years with how he really did push the sound, and I don't think he gets enough credit for that. Um, and that's just really interesting that
Definitely.
you didn't even have music out yet, but here you are sitting on a song with Lil
Yeah,
B, just like, oh god, like like that is a
that's a
situation.
good way to start your career, right?
Yeah, I was like, that's a situation like no rapper would ever really find themselves in. So that's cool. I didn't realize he would just link like that, but
Yeah,
that's a very Lil B thing to do.
indeed.
And then last but not least, we got Rose. So I already kind of talked with Ferris about his beat selection. But I really liked your beat selection. What was it? Military Mustard. I love that song. I listened to that song like on repeat after the first time I listened to it. I love that beat. And then I think that's the one with the Kanye sample. The gotta get the album. You gotta get the album. And I'm a big Kanye stan, so I love that song. It kind of made me think of um like kind of the boom bap. I mean, I really like Griselda, so West Side Gun, Benny the Butcher, all of them, and it kind of made me think about that. And then some of your other songs like Brand New Alien were kind of more like, I guess, hyper pop, kind of more high energy. So you had a very big, variety of beats. So I'm curious of what that process is like. I mean, you already kind of said, you start with art and kind of go backwards. But what do you really look for in a beat?
Um, I'll be honest, most of my music on streaming services is YouTube type beats. It wasn't until recently that I've been able to have Ferris produce for me. Um, But usually when I'm selecting beats, I'll just be like, I'll look up, Earl Sweatshirt type beat or Playboy Cardi type beat, and just go through, try to find, I usually try to find more obscure producers to try to, give them a little boost or whatever. And when I find something that I like, I usually just write on top of that and call it a day.
You can't knock the YouTube type beats. Some of them are insane. Some of them are insane quality. There's the trash ones, of course, but yeah, there's some that like I've literally typed in West Side Gun beats before, and there's some that have like 300 views, and I'm like, this is the most beautiful thing I've ever heard. How is this not like on everybody's album? So you can't knock the YouTube type beats. But then I also wanted to ask, you kind of mentioned like your like graphic design, and then I know you do like photography, videography. How does that really like shape your art? Like how does that process, having that background, how does that really push your music and art in general forward?
I like to do a lot of sort of poppy art, so I think that translates into my more hyper pop sort of rager stuff. But I also like to do very like avant-garde, out there, abstract types of stuff. So I think when I'm writing flows or like picking beats, I'm usually looking for something that's sort of out there, sort of like against the grain. Because when, if you're going for like a regular style, there's so many people who have done the same style. But when you find
Mm-hmm.
like your own unique style that just completely stands out, people are going to pay attention to that.
It's definitely important kind of having not only your own sound but your own like visual, like the visuals plays such a big part as well. And some people might have great music, but if your album cover looks terrible, your songs all have terrible cover art, like I'm not gonna listen. Like I might see a cool cover art and just go listen to that song because of the cover art. So the visuals and music videos as well are all an incredibly important part of the music process. And then I also kind of wanted to briefly talk about, I know you have your clothing brand. I kind of wanted to mention what that process is like, and kind of what your future plans are for that.
Yeah. So back in 2018, I started this brand called Attention Clothing. It's gone through so many different phases of the style of what I'm trying to do. Right now, I'm just focusing on trying to make stuff that I love that I can put out into the world for other people to enjoy. So usually I just I think of something cool, I design it in Photoshop, I throw it on a blank shirt, and I just see how it looks. And if it looks cool, I put it up on the site and I sell it. And yeah, it's a labor of love. It's just something I like to do personally. At the end of the day, if nobody likes it or if nobody's buying it, I still have some cool stuff to wear.
So yeah, that's kind of how I started this podcast. Was I got into kind of, I guess, the creative scene on Instagram and stuff by following just people that are like our age that create their own clothes, have their own businesses, and are incredibly successful with it. So originally I was gonna make a clothing company like that as well, but I'm not currently the best graphic designer, so I decided to kind of use my powers of kind of knowing basic editing and some stuff to kind of help connect people with that. But yeah, there's a lot of work that goes into it, and it's really important to kind of differentiate yourself because there's a lot of people doing it and a lot of people kind of doing the same stuff. But yeah, especially, and yeah, like you said, at the end of the day, regardless, you have something cool to wear. And I really like some of your designs. Like there's the one with like the red moon. That one was pretty cool. I can't remember what it said on it, but there was that one. I really like that.
Crescent Moon Society.
Yeah, that one was pretty cool. And so now I just kind of wanted to go back to everyone answering. But I know a lot of you guys are still kind of more at the beginning of your music careers, at least in the sense of putting stuff out. So I'm curious, what would you tell your past self, like when you were first starting out? What advice would you give yourself?
Stop recording songs in a minivan. My first like 20 songs I recorded in a minivan, and they just sound awful. I sat in the back seat of my mom's minivan with the Apple headphones, the microphone on those. I would record on that, just like chilling in the back of this minivan. And yeah, it didn't sound good. And I definitely go back and tell myself, hey, find a quiet place inside to do that.
If I could go back and tell myself something about like the future, I would just be like, don't trip, because the bass guy got you, and like you don't got to worry about nothing. The rest of it is nah. I would probably say like focus on don't just focus on one thing. Focus on a little bit of everything. Learn, be open to ideas, and just work harder. There's many hours in the day. Yeah.
Some advice I would give my past self would be to stay focused, don't do drugs, and just be yourself. Like no matter what.
Other than the bass god, who are other artists, whether it be musicians, graphic designers, or someone that you would like to work with in the future? Whether that be on music, visuals, like who's like your go-to, like anybody? I pick them.
I think the ultimate goal is to work not only musically but also artistically with Kanye West, which that's a long way away, but he's my favorite artist of all time, and I really look up to him a lot.
If I could work with any artist or producer, it would have to be either Tyler, the creator, or Smina. Like they're both just great as far as lyricism, just like wordplay. They're just phenomenal.
Um, I'd say like a someone I want to work for or work with is like I would love to get a beat by Madlib. Like I would really love to produce with him and get a beat by him and work with him. Yeah, that's something I'd love to do is rap on a Madlib beat with like someone dope. But like Joey Badass, I'd love to like get on a Madlib beat with Joey Badass. Yeah, that'd be cool.
Yeah, Joey would sound pretty perfect on a Madlib beat.
Joey flows perfect on fucking anything. He's great.
That is true. That is true.
This
I'm
is
very excited for
facts.
his new album. Can't
Oh,
wait to see
dude,
that.
I'm like very impatient about that.
Yeah, it's been a while. It's been a while since his last one.
Yeah, All American Badass, dude. That was like
Hmm.
2017.
Yeah, that released on my 18th birthday, and I'm now almost 23. So he's been cooking for a while, that's for sure.
This man's missing birthdays.
So then also, I wanted to ask. I mean, we've kind of talked about different projects and everything that you guys have cooking, but what do you guys have like next? What should your fans expect this year? Whether it be music videos, projects, art in general, clothing. Like what should everyone expect to see from you guys this year?
Um, Dropping tonight, so it'll probably already be out, I'm assuming, by the time this goes up. My next single, Talking to Myself, produced by Save Ferris, is going to be live.
For me this year, let's see, producing a lot of records. I'm mixing a lot of records as well. I'm dropping a song pretty much every other month this year. Me and Feedback next month have a song together coming out called Lemonade. That drops the 15th, I'm pretty sure. And yeah, that's coming out. And I'm an executive producer on Feedback's record that's coming out called Phases. And that should be out sometime summertime. We're aiming for. So yeah.
I kind of talked about what you guys want to do this year and your soon upcoming plans, but where do you guys really see yourself in the next, say, 5 years, 10 years from now? Like, where do you want to be musically, artistically? Where do you guys really see yourself?
I just want to keep getting better, keep putting out stuff that I love, keep putting out stuff that other people love. Um, yeah, just continuing to grow as an artist in general, whether that's graphic design or music or producing, just getting as good as I can get.
I don't know. In 5 years, I'd like to have a bigger discography, a wider range. I like to go on a bigger tours, and yeah, that kind of thing. I'd love to do that, and I'd love to work with some faces that I've wanted to work with in the past this past year that I wasn't able to quite yet. Yeah, that's what I'd like to do.
Where do I see myself in the next 5 to 10 years? Hopefully mentally, spiritually, physically, just well and fit in all areas. Just financially in a better space. Musically, I would like to have a bigger audience to speak to. I see myself doing more shows and more like on more things for the youth, and just getting myself out there. Getting the exposure that I need. So yeah.
Sweet. And so I mean, you guys kind of talked about your goals this year, your goals in the future, far off. What do you think your biggest challenges will be with like becoming a better artist, like, or like you said, Ferris? Like, what do you think will be the toughest thing about reaching those goals and actually attaining them?
That's a good question. I think the toughest thing to like maybe obtain those kinds of goals is, you know, just the maybe I don't know. There's a lot of factors that go into it. The people the people you don't know, that kind of thing. I mean, I'd say like I'd leave it up to the art and just kind of let my music speak for itself when it comes to those kinds of goals. And just if I feel like I feel like we all three of us feel this way. If you put the work in, you can really accomplish what you want to do. So I'd say letting my work kind of speak for itself in that kind of manner as to achieving those kinds of goals in the next few years.
Um, I think the biggest challenges with attaining my goals would probably just be staying unique because I've never wanted to be that rapper that just does the same style as everybody's, using the same flows, same wordplay. So I think the biggest challenge will be continuing to, discover new new flows and new rhymes and just trying to keep my sound as unique as possible and as tailored to myself as possible.
I think for me, like my biggest challenge is myself. Just always second guessing and doubting my art and like my skills and stuff, and just I don't like my thoughts and stuff. So I just have to learn how to gain control of that and just make the art that I want to make. And if I'm happy, then that's all that matters, really. So yeah.
Okay, lastly, anything you guys want to shout out? Social media links. I'll put all that stuff. But any last final thoughts you guys have?
Shout out to Bass God. Shout out to him. Shout out Lil B. Definitely. Shout out Nate. Nate's Nate's the bro. Big shout out to Nate. Had Nate not prayed on my downfall, I wouldn't be here with Zell. So shout out to Nate.
You can follow me on Instagram and Twitter at Feedbackotw.
I don't really have any shout outs. I just say, shout out my girlfriend, I guess. She's a huge supporter of my music. She's really driving me to push for my goals and try to make this music thing a career and something I can actually support myself off of. So yeah, shout out to my girl.
I was gonna shout out the biggest supporter. But yeah, other than that, I really appreciate you guys taking the time to come on. I wish you guys all best of luck with all your projects, songs coming out. And I'll definitely be there to listen to the new album. But thank you guys for coming.
Definitely.